All right, hello there. All right. This is September 11th, 2001. What happened? One of the planes flew down the Hudson River. It was 9 o'clock in the morning, and I was teaching at the teaching at Merrill's College Economics. And all of a sudden, all the phones in the classroom went off. And so, because the parents were checking out on their kids to make sure they were okay, but it's like the planes flew like right here, right down the Hudson River. That's really creepy, and it was a perfectly clear day. So this is how I started to get interested in Islam, right? So today's lecture is about Islam. Now, what did I think about Islam before September 11th? Oh, I don't know. It's some religion on the other side of the world. I don't really care to know about it. I'm a Lutheran. I just read the Bible. Who cares about that, right? So I didn't spend a lot of time thinking about it. It's not even on the radar screen. Well, this is what happens if it's not on your radar screen, right? So you have to be aware of the world around you, right? What's this? This happened when? Yesterday, April 14th. They launched 200 drones plus 100 ballistic missiles on an attack on Israel. Okay? Now, what was the country of origin? Iran. Okay? And where were they trying to hit? Israel. And remember, Israel's about the size of the state of Vermont, so it's really small. When you go there, you're like, this is a small place, right? Meantime, they're surrounded by about 100 million Islamic people. It's not. Is Islam monolithic? That means one? The answer is no. So it would be like Christianity, but we have Roman Catholics, Eastern Orthodox people, we have Protestants, then under Protestantism, Lutherans, Presbyterians, Methodists, Baptists, right? So there's all kinds of, so Islam is the same way. They're not monolithic. It isn't like there's one Islamic thing. So the country of origin is really important. This comes from Iran. Iran, what's another name for Iran historically, if you read history?
Persia.
Persia, and back up even more, the Parthians, okay? And who fought the Parthians? Bible readers, the Romans, for how many years? Oh, about 600 years. The Romans are always trying to fight the Parthians, the Persians, right? It's a perpetual problem. And did they ever win? The answer is no. The Romans always lost. The Roman legions are really tough, but the Parthians have mounted horsemen and they ride circles around you, and I think they captured and killed at least two Roman emperors during the time that they fought. So extremely important to be able to, the hallmark of an educated person is someone who can make subtle distinctions. So you don't say all Islamic people are alike. No, you have to go, well, what group or faction are we dealing with here? So be able to separate and to identify it, okay? So Iran is the topic of discussion here. Here's a picture right out of the news. I pulled this up this morning, okay? And it's the Iron Dome and David's Sling, and they have another name for it. And these knock the missiles out of the air when they're coming from Iran. It's an unbelievable technology, unbelievable thing. Is it hard, if I took a gun and shot a gun, is it hard to knock the bullet out of the air before it hits somebody? Well, that's what this is. So it's really a phenomenal thing. All right, here we go. Here's a picture. All right, now this is not the Ayatollah Khomeini. He died a long time ago. This is Khomeini, right? They pronounce it differently. It's a Shiite cleric who's the head of Iran. Okay, so imagine if, I don't know, Joel Osteen, he's on TV, the guy with the white teeth, he's the head of the United States, and the politicians have to pay homage to him. See how that works? So it's a theocracy, okay? And this is Netanyahu here, so it's, and we are, could this be World War III? Yeah. Okay, what are you supposed to do then? Well, you pray about it, and you don't get depressed, right? This isn't supposed to be like a depressing lecture here. I want you to know that God is on the throne, and you focus on Jesus, and know that you're in God's hands. That's true every day anyway. But particularly keep it in mind. So don't watch the news and be all terrified about this. The solution to being terrified is to get some information, and so you can think about it in a rational way. Right? That's what we're trying to do here, okay? And here we go. See, these are the clerics. Isn't it odd? What are they dressed like? They're dressed like it's the 8th century AD. Is that a mistake or something? No. I wear like an alb when I do the service here, but I don't walk around town wearing it. That would be kind of odd, right? Well, their goal, they look at the 8th century AD as like the pinnacle of Islam, and now they're down here. Well, they want to go back to the 8th century. Okay? It would be like if you froze the United States and we want to have it the way it was when George Washington was alive or something. Well, the country has changed since then, right? So they're like stuck in the 8th century. And notice on the right we see military uniform people here, Islamic Guard people, okay? And here's one of the things. I had an interesting experience. We went down to Washington, D.C. one time to see our daughter Jennifer, and when she worked down there. And we're driving down the street, and it was, Friday night, and the mosque just let out, okay? What does that mean? Oh, there was about 2,000 men walking out of the mosque, and they're like maybe 15 to 45 years old. Yeah. If you took all the Christians in Washington, D.C., all the men, and put them together, you'd probably have about 5. Yeah. Isn't that interesting? So that ought to really terrify you. So, is religion declining in the West? Yeah. Oh no, people don't go to church anymore. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? Well, yeah, because we're secular, okay? But is religion growing in other places around the world? Yeah, in the Islamic world, Islam is growing rapidly, you know? And in fact, how many children does Jennifer have?
1.
Well, in Islamic countries, she'd have like 12 children.
That's right.
So and one of their strategies is they're going to have more people than we do, and they're going to take over the world in like a couple generations.
Yep.
Right? So Islam is not a declining or decaying religion, it's growing. And we're going to understand why it is as I press on here. Okay, who's this? Don't believe me, I'm just Pastor Mark Donkey Boy, I don't know anything, but I do read books, okay? So this is Bernard Lewis. He died a few years ago, and he was a scholar from Princeton University. I didn't go to Harvard, Princeton, or Yale, but I read the books by the scholars that teach at these places. And I listen to the lectures on YouTube, you know, and it's amazing what you can gain just by listening to these people. Well, Bernard Lewis, he's a nice Jewish guy, grew up speaking Yiddish. He has a propensity for language. He studies Turkish, Arabic, like 15 languages. He's been to Istanbul, Turkey numerous times. He speaks at conferences. The guy's a genius. He wrote about this many books. So when a guy like this writes a book, you know, don't read some lunatic who doesn't take religion seriously. This guy, and is he a deeply religious Jewish guy? I don't know if he is or not, but he's an outstanding scholar who reads Islamic literature. Very important. And he taught me one of the things that, ready? What's the largest Islamic country in the world? You don't know? What is it?
United States.
No. Indonesia. Okay, most people would say Saudi Arabia or something, or you know, Iran or something. No, there are more Islamic people in Indonesia. That's the most populous. India has about 150 million Islamic people. I think that's the 3rd largest Islamic country in the world, but they're mostly Hindu, but they have a large Islamic population. So don't think of, you know, oh, they're only Arabs. Arabs are actually a minority of the Islamic world, right? And you have to do subtle distinctions again. Remember, hallmark of an educated person, you make subtle distinctions. Okay, ready? Are Arabs the same as Turks?
No.
No. Are Arabs the same as Kurds? Are Kurds the same as Turks? Are Persians the same as Arabs? The answer is no, 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 no. Okay? So the Middle East, again, has all these different family, clan, tribe. What's the basic sociological unit of most of human history? Family, clan, tribe. These family, clans, and tribes have been going at it for, 4,000 years. Right? So extremely interesting. So Bernard Lewis, he's the one that says, yeah, you have to take like the Ottoman Turk. Okay, ready? Are the Jews in Israel oppressors of the Palestinians? The answer would be, you don't know what oppression is. From 1517, that's when Martin Luther did the 95 Theses in Wittenberg, Germany. That's when the Ottoman Turks took over Mecca and Medina. So they ran the Middle East for how many years? from 1517 until 1922. That's when they were on the wrong side of World War I, the Ottoman Empire. Where do the Ottoman Turks come from anyway? Well, they come from the Silk Road, the steppe of like Central Asia. And they converted to Islam and took over Anatolia, which is a big Bible area. You know, Paul travels there, okay? That used to be like the heartland of ancient Rome. They took that area over, I don't know, around the year 1000 AD. So the Turks are newcomers. And they ended up taking over the entire Middle East. And what did the Turks, first of all, what language do the Turks speak? Turkic language. Do they speak Arabic? No, they don't, okay? So what did they do when they overran these areas? Well, they enslaved and abused the Arabs, the Palestinians, right? Well, what do you do with these people? Oh, you kill them, you rape them, you destroy everything, you know, you tax them to death. That's what you do. So, do the Turks go by the Geneva Convention?
No.
Well, the answer would be no. The Turks are cruel and unusual in every possible way. So, when the Jews came in 1949, 47, 48, well, they follow the Geneva Convention and Western rules. They don't follow the, you know, if you really wanted to restore, you know, peace in the Middle East, give it all back to the Ottoman Empire, because they know how to run the place, right? They're really tough, really, really tough, right? So Bernard Lewis, he talks about this, a history of the Ottoman legacy. Here, excellent book. This one's about 600 pages. The Middle East, a brief 2,000-year history. If you really want to get a perspective on this, read this book. This is the go-to book about the Middle East. Extremely interesting guy, Bernard Lewis. And then he writes in here, Crisis of Islam. Unfortunately, he died a few years ago. He was like 93 or something when he died, but he was a scholar right up to the end, writing books and so on. I like him a lot. Who's this? T.E. Lawrence, Lawrence of Arabia. Do we have any local connections about T.E. Lawrence? Yeah, we do. If you go to Pauling, New York, who lived there? Lowell Thomas. Lowell Thomas lived there. Lowell Thomas was famous. He would go to where the action is, and in what, 1916, 1917, he went to Arabia, and he met and really liked T.E. Lawrence. He came back and wrote a book about T.E. Lawrence. So the reason we know about Lawrence of Arabia is not the movie with Peter O'Toole, that's pretty good. It's because of Lowell Thomas from Pauling, New York. And all of his papers and artifacts were given to Marist College. There's a Lowell Thomas Center down there, right? And he would do, like what I'm doing, except they had magic lantern presentations. So there were like travel logs. He'd go travel around and he would say, this is what it's like being in Mecca. This is what it's like. So very interesting guy. So T.E. Lawrence, right? Who's he? He went to Oxford University. He's expert in Arabic and other languages. He's an archaeologist, a cartographer, map maker. He travels the whole Middle East before World War I. Breaks out in August of 1914, okay? So he's an expert in the Middle East. So when it came time to fight the Ottoman Turks, who dominate that region, the British got him as an officer, an intelligence officer. He's an irregular. That means he didn't go to, military school or anything, Sandhurst. He's just like an archaeologist, an academic person. And he's the one that organized the Arab resistance against the Ottoman Turks. So watch the movie Lawrence of Arabia, okay? And what did Lawrence do? He promised them that after World War I ended, that the Arabs would all have their own countries, right? So, and what happened? After World War I ended at the Treaty of Versailles, the British and the French changed their mind, right? So there's a lot of bad blood between the Arab world and the British and the French because of that, World War I. And T.E. Lawrence, he was disgusted with the whole thing. And here, this interesting book here, The 7 Pillars of Wisdom by T.E. He's a prolific writer. It's actually a fun book to read. You want to read about long ago, far away books. Here's a book. I like these. There's a whole series of books. These are called pig books, politically incorrect guidebooks. Yeah, they're really good, right? Why? Because I read a lot of politically correct books when I teach, but I want to know what the other side of the story is, because the truth is somewhere in the middle. So this one is called The Politically Incorrect Guide to Islam and the Crusades by Robert Spencer. He lives up in New Hampshire. My friend Don Federer is friends with him. They have a hit out on him. They want to kill him if they can. So he kind of keeps a low profile, but he's an interesting guy. This is a no-holds-barred book written about Islam. You might want to get that and read it if you're interested in the topic. Here's another one, The Complete Infidel's Guide to the Quran. Okay, where's the Quran? I happen to have one right here. Here's my copy, right? We'll talk about that later. Here's Robert Spencer. He's been on C-SPAN. And here's just a bunch of books on Islam. Again, you want to study up on this, rather than sitting going, oh, what are we going to do? Oh, what are we going to do? Well, you want to study up on it so you know. If this was 1930s, I would have you read Mein Kampf so you'd understand what the Nazis are all about. You don't have to. Do you have to agree with them? No, but you have to know how they're thinking and what to expect. The Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor, December 7th, 1941. Was that a surprise? A sneak attack. The Japanese, why would they do this to us? We didn't. Most people didn't even know where Pearl Harbor was.
Right.
You had no idea, right? Well, if you're informed, you would have seen it coming. The Japanese were causing problems since 1931 when they invaded Manchuria, you know. So you want to be able to follow things so you know what's going on. Robert Spencer, Islam understands its earthly mission is to extend the law of Allah over the world by force. That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Okay? And this is, I love this, this is Jacob, whose new name is Israel, wrestling with an angel. So this is what people of faith do, right? We wrestle with deep questions. And the Bible answers the questions, and knowing about the world, we wrestle with things. You know? It's kind of interesting. All right, secular worldview. This is what we're up against. The problem is not Islam. The problem is that most of the people that we know are secular. Okay? Well, what does that mean? Well, the secular worldview is that all religions are equally invalid. Stop. What does that mean? All religions are equally invalid. Is Christianity wrong? That's crazy talk. How about Judaism? Oh, that's crazy stuff. How about Islam? Oh, that's insane. How about Hinduism? Well, that's insane too. In other words, they reject all religions are equally invalid. And I would say some religions are more invalid than other religions, and you have to make subtle distinctions about things. You don't just make a blanket statement. And what does this look like in school? When I would teach my college kids, they come to school and they know nothing. There's nothing about, they don't know anything about any religion. Well, how can you teach the Crusades, or how can you talk about the Reformation and the Renaissance if they don't know anything about any religion? They've never thought of it before. It's not even on the radar screen. So the public school have completely purged any references, not just to Christian religion. All religion is gone. They have no idea what you're talking about, right? So secular people are militant, anti-religionist people, anti-metaphysical. So they don't teach any religion. Now, is that a problem? Yeah. Lawrence of Arabia says we don't have any business being involved in the Middle East unless we know the Quran and know about the Arab people. Cult is part of culture. So if you're going to go over there knocking down missiles and drilling oil and trying to meddle in the politics over there, you better know that these people are extremely religious and you're secular. You don't have a clue, right? And that puts us at a big disadvantage. So you want to study comparative religion so you know what motivates people. You don't just go through life going, I go to church on Easter because my grandmother makes me, and it obviously has no impact on my life, so why would religion have an impact on anyone else? Well, these people are religious, deeply religious people, right? And their religion is not my cup of tea, but you have to understand that they're motivated by religious reasons, not by economics or politics like we might be. So you have to study and understand that. Why were the Japanese so hard to beat in World War II? Would you want to fight the Japanese? No, thank you. Well, why is that? Because they believe the emperor is God. And they believe that it's a glorious thing to die for the emperor and for Japan. Well, does that change the battlefield scenario? Yeah, you have to go into every cave with a flamethrower and kill every single one of them because they'll never surrender because that's dishonorable to the emperor who they think is God. So the religion really changes things, right? And you need to know that. Religion oppresses human freedom. Therefore, all religions are evil. Okay, so if you talk to a typical secular person, not only do they think religion is a waste of time, they think it's a force for evil. You got that? Evil. So you tell them, I go to church on Sunday. Well, that means you're a white nationalist and you're a bigot. That's what they think. So they think all religion is evil. And they don't like Judaism, they don't like, again, it isn't just Christianity. All religion is evil for these people, okay? Thus, no religions are worthy of study or discussion. So as a result, they go like this, throw it away. Let's read something interesting, okay? So they don't study it or think about it. And that puts you at a real disadvantage because you make mistakes then, okay? A best example of a religious mistake I can think of is, remember David Koresh and the Branch Davidians? Okay? What did they do? The Bureau of Firearms raided this compound, what do they call it? Mount Carmel compound in Waco, Texas, in the middle of the prairie. And they had a big shootout. 85 people ended up being burned to death after a 55-day siege, right? Well, David Koresh would go into town every day and buy a newspaper and a Diet Pepsi. Yeah. Well, just arrest him there. Yeah. Oh no, we're gonna do an apocalyptic event. We're going to surround the compound, and they think this person is the new Messiah. But the FBI and Bureau of Fire didn't bother to say, maybe we should talk to somebody who knows something about this particular religion. Branch Davidians are a heresy of the Seventh-day Adventist movement. So when you show up with tanks and it's the apocalypse. It's Armageddon. I've prophesied about this. That's what it is. It's proof that I am David, the Messiah. In other words, you play right into their hands, but if you knew something about their religion, you could have found a better way, maybe save 85 people's lives by being cautious about that. But again, they don't think religion is worthy of discussion. We're so smart, we don't need religion anymore. It's a primitive thing, okay? Let's go fight fanatically religious people. Okay? That's what people think. Oh, no problem. We'll just go over there and we'll send peace envoys in there and negotiate. If we give the Iranians money, then maybe they won't fight us or something. You're very naive and uninformed because you don't have enough respect for these people to study their religion and realize what motivates them. Giving them money, they don't care about money, right? They want their form of Islam to dominate the world, right? And they think we're Satan. Okay? Metaphysics and physics. Okay, this is what secular people do. Remember, physics is downstairs, metaphysics is upstairs. They think everything upstairs is crazy stuff and not worthy of looking at. They only think down here, which is touch it, taste it, feel it, smell it, hear it. Down here only. What happens when you die? Death is the end. Celebration of life stuff. So they don't care about upstairs things. Right? In fact, they have contempt for people that believe in metaphysical things. Okay? Physics only. And in our country, we have separation of church and state. Okay? Why do we have that? What date was the Declaration of Independence signed? July 4, 1776, right? What happened 1618 to 1648 in Germany? That's the 30 Years' War. They killed 1/2 to 1/3 of the population of Germany in the 30 Years' War. So our ancestors are survivors of this disaster. They killed more people in the 30 Years' War by percentage than they did in World War II. Okay? And what were they fighting about? Bavaria is Roman Catholic, supported by the Austrians is Roman Catholic. In northern Germany, they're Lutheran, and Calvinist people are thrown in there. It was a war of religion. Protestants against Catholics, and they killed 1/2 to 1/3 of the people in German-speaking territories. It was a world war that lasted. How long was World War II? 1941 to 1945. That was bad. 4 years, right? No. 30 years of World War II. At the time, people thought that the human race is going to be extinct. Yeah. 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, plagues, famines, mercenaries. The mercenaries are paid, and if your side couldn't pay, they would go to and fight on the other side for the money. Complete breakdown, So when the Enlightenment is a reaction against that. Okay? So we have a new country here. A new world. In the new world, we don't fight about religion. We believe in God in general, but we don't say, I hate Methodists, I'm going to go burn down the Methodist church because we all have to be Methodists because Lutheranism is the only religion. We don't have that. We have separation of church and state, and it's to protect the church from the state. It's not to protect the state from the church, it's to protect the church from state politicians meddling in it, right? Freedom of speech is the same thing. Freedom of speech doesn't protect the government, it protects the citizens against government intrusion. One of our Supreme Court justices just, one of these women on there, she says, oh, well, we have to have limits on free speech because it protects the government. No, the First Amendment protects citizens from the state, okay? So we have separation of church and state. And we have a secular and sacred dichotomy, okay? Die means two, toma means cut in two. So what does that look like? We go to church on Sunday. What do we do on Monday? What do we do in the parking lot driving out of the church on Sunday morning? Cut people off, run them into the ditch, basically we come to church, we're very religious for about an hour and 10 minutes, and then the rest of the week we do whatever we want. Why? Why? Because we live in the secular world, but we go to church every once in a while. See? So, and we call ourselves Christian because we come to church like once a week maybe, if it's convenient. But is that an odd thing? Yeah, that's very strange. What do Islamic people do?
Oh, it's a way of life.
Yeah. It's not just go 1 hour a week. No, it's 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. They keep all these laws. Yeah, in other words, they're really religious. Mm-hmm. We're like maybe 1% religious. They're like 99.9% religious. Right? It's very important. And we would say religion is private or personal. Mm-hmm. Oh, I sacrifice chickens in the backyard to Satan. Well, that's your private religion. Who am I to interfere with that? Okay, so we believe religion is a private thing. So this is the Western point of view. Okay, for better or for worse, you just have to know this, right? Okay, and so with that attitude, let's go fight fanatically religious people at the other end of the world. And you wonder why we have a hard time, right? What do those people think when they see us coming?
They probably laugh.
They think they're a bunch of perverts and degenerates. They drink alcohol. They let their women walk around in scantily clad clothes. They get tattoos. They have gay people. They have lesbian people here. They think the West is completely out of control. And it's decadent. And one thing to understand about Islam, it's a male religion. It's like the ultimate, male sexist religion, and they have things under control. And they keep their women locked up in the house, and if they go out, they have to wear like burqas and so on, right? It's a whole litany of stuff. Is that something that Western people would be willing to accept? No, right? Amazing stuff. So we're completely, so they look at us and they think we're a bunch of pigs and perverts, right? Secular sacred dichotomy, talked about this. Okay, here's the key about Islam. Okay, what are the three great domains or spheres of human existence? Economics, politics, and religion. Okay, I talked about this in my sermons before. Okay, they're holistic. What does holistic mean?
All-encompassing.
Yeah, all-encompassing. So Islam is a religion, yeah. It's also a political system and an economic system, all rolled into one. Do you have credit cards? Mm-hmm. Yeah. What do? You charge things, right? You pay interest on it, Well, interest is called usury in Islam, and it's prohibited. Well, how do you have a capitalist economy without interest and dividends, which is payments for capital? You don't. And what happens to a place that's really Islamic that doesn't have credit and interest and dividends? Well, it's a backward country. You're stuck in the century, right? You can't expect to have the fruits and benefits of capitalism if you don't allow interest and dividends. So that works? Yeah. It gets really technical. Why did they bomb the World Trade or take out the World Trade Center? Because it's a World Trade Center. Trade? Do they believe in trade? Yeah, they do. Yeah. The wealth of nations is supposed to go to Mecca.
Right.
In other words, they would leave us alone if we would pay like maybe, 50% of our income to Mecca. Because we're supposed to pay tribute to them. Because Mecca is the axis mundi, the center of the world, not London or New York with Jews and people making money. See how that works? So they take out the World Trade Center because it's a way of them like knocking out what they think is the leading evil in the world. Business, stock market, economics. The more capitalism grows and prospers, the more it's an insult to them. That if you don't charge interest and dividends, you have no economic development, right? So the reason they're backward is because they're stuck with with an obsolete economic worldview. Okay, and how about their political system? What is that? Do they have like free elections? It's a republic with a constitution? Well, why? Well, because they believe that Allah picks the leader, and they have the strong man who sits on the throne, the potentate, like the Shriners or something, right? And they run the whole thing. There's no, let's have a discussion before we make a decision. So in other words, it's like a monarchy, except it's informed with religion. So do we have a monarchy? No, it's Patriots Day today, right? So they have the Boston Marathon, it's Patriots Day, So what's that? They get all these thousands of people running through the streets in the Boston area. They're running from the tax guy. That's what they're running from. Yeah. Run for your life! They're coming to get our money. So we have Patriots Day. They don't have that. We have a republic. We have citizens, right? So they don't. So the whole thing is completely, and they're holistic, right? So if an Islamic person comes to Dearborn, Michigan, and moves here from Uzbekistan or something, what do they want to do? Do they want to become Republicans or Democrats or something, or participate? No, they want to institute Sharia law, Islamic law in Dearborn, Michigan, and that's kind of weird. Yeah, I think women should be required to wear burqas when they walk down the street and not being allowed to drive. That's a good idea. See what I mean? So they want to take their system, which they think is from God, and transplant it over here. There's no attempt to assimilate or, in Minneapolis, Lutheran Social Services, yeah, they get a lot of money from the federal government to resettle refugees. They've done this for like 50 years. About 20 years ago, they brought in 30,000 Somali refugees. Okay? What's wrong with Somalia? They haven't had a government in like 30 years. It's like gangs running through the streets, watch Black Hawk Down, right? That was like 1980 something. It's worse now than it was then. We have Somali pirates going out trying to, they try to hijack cargo ships and hold them for ransom. This is like something out of, the 18th century or something. Okay, pirates, all right. All right, anyway, very important. All right, in the West we also do projection. What does that mean? I'm okay, you're okay. Yes, it's okay if you think you're a cat and want to dress up like a Furby and walk through the junior high. It's okay, it's all right. It doesn't matter if you're not learning anything. As long as you're expressing, it's okay, it's a little strange, but it's okay. We embrace every form of insanity. Yeah. What do you think Islamic people think about that?
No.
They would look at this and go, these people are real degenerates.
Yep.
And so projection is naive, wishful thinking. I'm a Methodist, and those people, I guess they're kind of religious, so we can have treaties with them, right? Remember the attack that happened in Israel? When was that? October the 6th, whatever the date was, 7th? What happened? A bunch of hippies, like Woodstock people, out of the desert, having like a Burning Man kind of a thing like they do in California. And all of a sudden, the Hamas did a terrorist attack and they killed like 1,700 of them. Yeah. Right? Well, what is that? It's called a violation of the Geneva Convention. These are war criminals. Okay? What did we do with the top Nazis? Well, they're hanged at Nuremberg. Right? Waging an aggressive war and crimes against humanity. So what do? They raped women, killed babies, killed old people, took hostages, right? Well, first of all, Hamas had a treaty with the Israelis, so you're not allowed to attack another country just because you want to. It's a violation of a peace treaty. Second thing, You're not allowed to hold hostages and put them on TV and make them beg for their lives so you can collect ransom money. That's a violation of the Geneva Convention, right? And you're not allowed to, kill civilians deliberately, right? All that stuff. This is called waging an aggressive. These are war criminals, war crimes, right? Well, what would they say? Well, they would say Islamic law transcends Geneva Conventions because they were drawn by Western Christian oppressors. So they're not bound by the Geneva Convention. Well, that makes it kind of difficult to do a treaty with somebody. If they, that was Hitler's problem. He would make a treaty and then go and invade Czechoslovakia. He didn't care, right? Okay? So let's go fight fanatically religious people. I'm okay, you're okay. Let's go do that. All right? Or here's a good one. We all worship the same God. Okay? So you hear this one. Allah is the same as Yahweh. Okay? Is that true? No. Ready? John 1:18. The Word became flesh and dwelt among us, and we beheld His glory. Okay, what does that mean? The Word is God. God took on human flesh and dwelt among us. In Islam, is that a problem? Yeah. They would say that Allah doesn't have a wife, therefore He can't have a son. Okay, that's one of their maxims. So they reject the idea of the incarnation of Christ. That's a problem. Okay? Allah is detached and beyond the creation. Okay, ready? Creator, creation, dichotomy. Okay? What does that mean? We believe this. We're called monotheistic. You go like this. Here's God. Where is God? Way up. Hovering above, up in the stratosphere. Can you approach Allah?
No.
Can you pray to Allah? Mike has something growing on his face. Let's put him on the prayer list. No, in Islamic prayer, you say, help Mike accept whatever's growing on his face.
Right.
Allah doesn't intervene in human affairs. You got that? There's no intercessory prayer. You pray that you will accept the will of Allah, that's it. If Allah says it, what do you do, Mike? Go off and die somewhere. No, Allah is not a God that will be moved or persuaded by your pleas or prayers, right? Allah is an oriental potentate that sits in heaven, completely detached from us.
And what is He supposed to do?
Allah created the heaven and the earth,
And after that?
He sends prophets every once in a while to give us the law. But that's it. There's no, and what do you do? Islam means submission. Okay, what does submission mean? Yes, sir.
Accept the word of
It doesn't
Allah.
mean, let's have a debate about what you want me to do.
Right.
See, Western people would want to argue with you before they follow the orders. In Islam, if Allah said it, well, okay, that's it. End of discussion. Does that work? Kind of like around my house. When Mrs. Isaac says something, end of discussion. I'm practically Islamic around the house. What's that?
Well, she's like, what's the point? Like, what happens? Like, were you asking about, like, I've heard about the 72 virgins?
Yeah.
That, and that always seemed odd to me. Like, what God would sacrifice 72 innocent virgins?
Well, again, it's the ultimate male sexist religion. I mean, that's like a great deal, right? Aiden, if you talk to him right now, he'd probably sell you out for that right now. And I don't blame him, right? No, so again, it's something that would appeal to a warrior, Like, if you do Allah's will, you get money, you get paid, you get the booty, you get the slaves, and you get to take over territory. It's kind of an exciting thing, like being part of a motorcycle gang or something, right? I mean, that's what it is, right? If you're a Hell's Angel, you hijack people, you steal their stuff, you divide it up, you take it, that's what it is. Islamic prayer is to accept the will. There's no intercessionary prayer. They don't have a prayer list. Principle. Ready? Do not let your opponent define who you are or what you believe. I say this all the time. Okay? So, is this important from us? Yeah, we're Christians, right? Don't let your idiot brother-in-law tell you you're a Christian nationalist because you read the Bible and come to church or something. Right? We're not Nazis, we're not nationalists, we're Christian. So don't let someone else tell you what Christians believe or don't believe. Okay? So don't let Islam define what Christianity is, which is what in this case. And Islam claims that they're a victim of cultural imperialism. Okay? So they don't Western movies are considered corrupt. I don't know, everything in the West is an offense to them. Okay? And they want to try to prevent that from corrupting what they think is an 8th century, Islamic culture. It's a culture war on a worldwide scale. Justice demands what? Reparations. So people that have grievances, it's a perfect religion.
Yeah.
It's perfect. Well, what is it all about? Well, say 10th, 11th, 12th century, Islam was the dominant culture in the world. I'll show you a map here in a few minutes, right? And the Haditha, the rules, Islamic law, is designed for people who are on the victory side. So they're winning. They win for centuries, right? Now all of a sudden, the shoe's on the other foot, they're on the losing side now. And rather than, so they have to submit to what the Western people want, right? And they resent it deeply. So for them, to be a religious person would be to attack and destroy the Western demons and Satan. The great Satan is the United States. Little Satan is Israel. We'd have a great world if we could get rid of the United States, right? So this is what they're thinking. It's a religious thing, okay? Envy, right? Why are the infidels in the West rich and we are poor, backward, and oppressed? Is that kind of interesting? Do you think maybe that builds a lot of resentment? Yeah. Yeah. It's really a problem around the world, especially in developing countries in Africa. It's really a problem, right? If you're 20, 25 years old and you live in sub-Saharan Africa, you're a black kid, guess what? You have no future. There's no economy. There's nothing. All you can do is to try to get out of there somehow.
Yeah.
So they try to make a boat and go to Europe, or they try to come over here or whatever, because there's people like in Nigeria, they sell bottles of water to people who are on the way to the airport. That's what they do for a job. So there's a lot of resentment, okay? Why are we backward? Why is the West prospering? They watch the Barbie movie and they probably throw up, right? It's like decadent and corrupt and we're filthy rich. They're the ones that are supposed to be rich, not us. We're supposed to be paying them because they are righteous and living by the book. See how that works? If I had a religion that said, if I worship Allah, pray 5 times a day, do all these things, and it isn't working out in the real world, I would be very angry too. Right? Meantime, you see some guy walking down the street, some sick, degenerate Western person, driving a Bentley or something. It creates resentment. We're supposed to pay them. That's how it works. Spread of Islam, okay? So I'm going to show you some maps. That's why I really did the projector here. Islam spread. Spread of Islam. The 632 AD is the anchor date. That's the death of Muhammad. So between 632 and the year 1000, they conquered all of that territory. It's an unbelievable thing. Unbelievable, okay? So Muhammad, okay, this is Mecca and Medina, the 3 holy sites in Islam. Mecca, Medina, and Jerusalem, okay? So Mecca is a holy site. So they start here, and they conquer Arabia, and then North Egypt, North Africa, across here. They cross the Iberian Peninsula in 711 AD. I got in big trouble because I said, how do you remember 711? That's who works there, right? So it's a pretty good joke, right? A pretty good joke, right? So 711 is that's when they crossed they entered Europe, and they made it all the way up to here, Tours, France, 732, right? So what would happen if Charles Martel, who's he? Charles Martel means the hammer, had a son, Pepin the Short, who had a son named Charlemagne, the Holy Roman Emperor. If Charles Martel didn't stop the forces of Islam, we'd be Islamic. It would have been the end of Christianity. So we hung by a thread, okay? So then from 732 until Grenada down here, 1492, 785 years. That's what the Spanish did. They fought the Moors, Islamic Moors, to kick them out of the Iberian Peninsula. You know, I love Holy Week because we have a nice Roman Catholic lady down in New Jersey. She sends me all these clips about Catholicism in Spain, and they do the thing where they have the confraternities where they wear like the robes and the hoods, and they carry like, you know, the crucifixion of Christ, and they go through the street and everything. It's really impressive. And why do they like the bloody cross, the crucifix, and all that kind of stuff? Because their religion, Roman Catholicism in Spain, is forged in the anvil of fighting the Moors for over 785 years. How old's our country? 230 years old? They fought the Moors for 750 to kick them out of the country to be Roman Catholic. So did the Reformation, 15th century, catch on big time in Spain and Portugal? The answer would be no. They spent generations fighting, right, to try to reconquer the Iberian Peninsula, right? And what do you call these people? Reconquistadors, reconquest of the Iberian Peninsula. And what happened in 1492? They kicked the Moors out of Spain, Grenada, and Ferdinand and Isabella. They then had money to bankroll Columbus, who came to this world, the New World, and who was on the ships? Former reconquistadors, unemployed people who have been killing Moors for generations. Well, now they're called conquistadors, conquest of the New World. And when they landed on the beach, you know, in Central America, Cuba, whatever, what did the Indians look like?
Like the Moors.
They had black hair and dark skin, just like the Moors. Are the Moors Catholic? No, they're Islamic. Are the Indians Catholic?
No.
Well, then you got to kill them. I mean, if you're picking a European group, you couldn't think of a worse group than the Spanish to come to the New World. Because, I mean, it's like what you do. You kill the Moors, the Moor Slayer. That's what you do, right? Matamoros, Pennsylvania, that means Moor Slayer. That's the name of the town. Is that weird? Okay. So Islam spread all over the place. And notice, it also spread into Persia. Yeah. What were the Persians before Islam came along? They followed Zoroaster, right? What is that? It's Ahura Mazda, dualism, you know, apocalyptic stuff, angels and so on. So they had their own monotheistic religion, but they were overrun by Islam. So the Iranians, their ancestors were once not Islamic, and they were overrun. And how old is Zoroastrianism? I don't know, a couple thousand years old? It's an ancient religion, right? All right, here, this shows the Battle of Tours and driving the Islamic Moors out of Spain. Here it is, Battle of Tours, 732. So when did Muhammad die? 632. 100 years later, they're in the middle of France. And different historians have written about this. No one seems to know why they were able to pull this off. It's an unbelievable thing to have a bunch of, you know, people who ride camels in Medina or Mecca to take over the whole known world. It's an unbelievable thing. In 100 years, it's like Hitler didn't even do that well. Oh, it's amazing, right? So the Battle of Tours, conquest of Islam. They conquered Damascus in 632. Is Damascus of interest to Christians? Yeah. The Apostle Paul is on the road to Damascus, right? And Jesus appears to him, and you know, why do you fight me, Paul? You know, okay. So Damascus was a center of Christianity from 33 AD until 635. That's about 600 years. Okay, round it up, 600 years. How old's the United States? 230 years. So Damascus was Christian for 600 years before the Islamic people showed up and conquered the place. That's kind of interesting. And Antioch, what's that? Antioch is the town that there were three great cities in the Roman Empire: Rome, Alexandria, Egypt, and Antioch. Antioch is where Christians were first called what? Christian. So they were Christian from 33 AD until 636 AD, where Antioch was overrun. How about Jerusalem? Jerusalem was conquered by the armies of Islam. Muhammad dies in 632, so what is that? Like 6 years later, they conquered Jerusalem. Okay? Is Jerusalem kind of an important city?
Yeah.
Well, for Jews, it's King Solomon's temple. For Christians, it's the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. For 600 years, it was a Christian center. And they overran it all, right? Here, how about this one? Was there a bishop in Jerusalem? Yes. Several. Was there a bishop in Antioch? Yes. Was there a bishop in Damascus? Yes. Was there a bishop in Alexandria, Egypt? Yes, there was. Was there a bishop in Rome? Yes. Why is the bishop of Rome called the Pope, Pontificus Maximus? Why is that? Because he's the last bishop standing. The armies of Islam overran all the other centers of Christianity. The last place standing was the Pope in Rome. That's kind of interesting, right? Prior to 795, this is the beginning of the Crusades. 2/3 of the Christian world was conquered by armies of Islam.
1095.
2/3, overrun. And I'll show you the map here in a second. These are the Crusades. So all of this area, all of North Africa, right? This is all Christian, right? And Constantinople is Eastern Orthodox Christian. So this is all Christian. It was all overrun. No one ever says anything about that, right? And who won the Crusades? First of all, what's the date? 1095 to 1285. I say this all the time because some people think that white people from France who are Catholic went and beat up on the brown people in the Middle East and enslaved them and oppressed them. No, actually, the Islamic armies defeated us and drove us out of the Middle East. That was in 1285. Okay? And so that's when they started building cathedrals in Western Europe. That's when Notre Dame Cathedral, that's why we have Stations of the Cross. You can't go to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem because we got kicked out in 1285. So instead, you have the Station of the Cross right here in your local church, and you have holy relics, you have the Virgin Mary, all that stuff arises with us being kicked out of the Middle East. It's fascinating, right? So we had to create like a religious world in territory that's not dominated by Islam. And so is Islam, sometimes people who don't know anything will say, oh, Islam is backward because of the Crusades. Well, no, we lost the Crusades, right? Why is Islam backward? It's backward because of this. The sack of Baghdad, 1258. No one seems to know anything about this, okay? What's Baghdad in, say, 1200 AD? What does it look like? It's an international city on caravan routes, and they have universities there. When Crusaders would go to sleep at night, what do? Well, you have the campfire and you sleep in your clothes and top under the fire, right? How do Arabs sleep? On a mattress. The word mattress is an Arabic word. You want to build something, you want to do some calculations or mathematics or whatever, how do we do it? Roman numerals. I dare you. Try to build something or try to balance your checkbook using Roman numerals. We learned from the Arabs, that comes from the Arabic numerals enable you to do precise calculations. Algebra is an Arabic word. Oranges, right? Bathing regularly, perfume, all that stuff. So Baghdad is like one of the leading cities in the world. And what happened to them? Let me talk about university for a minute. If you wanted to go to a university that's 1200, where do you go? If you could go anywhere in the world to go to a university, where would you go? Maybe Cambridge, Oxford, Heidelberg University, Padua, Bologna, Paris maybe. No, we don't have universities. Okay? Where are the universities? In Baghdad. Baghdad University for like centuries. What do? You show up, you say, would you be my master? Yes, I would. You sit at his feet, and he lectures, and if you like what you hear, you throw a couple shekels in the hat. That's your tuition. And when do you leave? When you want. When you've attained enough knowledge, you leave. There's no diplomas. Is our education system messed up? Yeah, here's what we do. 3 credits for this, 3 credits for that, 3 credits for that. You get 120 credits, you get a diploma, and supposedly you know something. No, you know how to study for the test to get 3 credits.
Right.
And in some European universities, in Germany they do this, You show up, some professor, Jordan Peterson is giving a lecture. So you listen to him for a while. Then you go to the library, you read, you study, 4 or 5 years, you drink beer, you eat the pretzels, you go to lectures that are interesting. Then you take a big test. And if you pass the test, it might be 2 or 3 days long, what do you get? A diploma. Yeah, I love that idea, right? No 3-credit stuff, no Department of Women's Studies, nothing like that. You just study and you... So in Baghdad, the Mongols came in from the Silk Road. You know, they're from like northern China. Genghis Khan and his descendants. Are the Mongols sort of difficult individuals? If the Mongols show up outside of Rhinebeck, what do? You surrender. Give them all your stuff. And what if you don't? Nothing personal. They'll just burn the town down and kill everybody in it and take your stuff anyway. Right? They're just, and can you reason with them?
No.
I know, they speak Mongolian. There's no negotiating. One time the Caliph of Baghdad sent an ambassador to negotiate with the Mongols, you know, we'll have a peace treaty or something. So what did the Mongols do? They took molten silver and poured it in his ears and sent him back dead. That would be the answers now.
Gosh.
Yeah, these are like brutal. So they show up at the gates of Baghdad, surrender. And what did they say? No. So here's what they did. They sacked Baghdad. And they had a university library, scrolls, ancient scrolls, who knows what. They threw them in the river, and there were so many scrolls in the river that the river turned black from the ink. And then when they're done, they rounded up all the men, especially the scholars, and chopped off their heads, and the river turned red with blood. So Islam, Baghdad never recovered from that. Never recovered. The Mongols destroyed them, without mercy. Okay? So it's not the Crusades, it's the Mongols that did them in. And here it is, you see these guys coming, you're going to die.
Yeah, there's no hope.
They have 3 or 4 mares, female horses, and they're like little ponies like this, right? And they sleep with them, live with them. When they're hungry, they bleed them and drink their blood. And you ride them and ride them and ride them, and when the horse gets tired, you switch and get a fresh horse, and then you ride them. They would move 100 miles a day. And they had bows that were composite bows made of layers of yak horn, and you have to be like an artist to make these. And they could fire the arrow, the bow, on with a full gallop on these little mares riding around like this. And they could get off maybe 8 or 10 shots in a minute. What does that mean? And they ride like this around and around. They're used to herding, sheep and so on. It means they win. Yeah. And the composite bows are so powerful that they would put an arrow through any kind of armor you have. It's like the ultimate weapon, right? So they were interesting. And okay, this is the Silk Road. Not only did the Mongols torment the Islamic world, they also enslaved the Chinese. So the Silk Road is like a 3,000-mile road east and west, right? Okay, so they control the whole world here. These are just the chronologies here, Again, basic stuff. What's the 5 world religions? Judaism, Christianity, Islam. Take a breath. Hinduism, Buddhism. Okay, you have to know that because you live in New York. Right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't want to hear I have a lecture coming up here.
Oh.
Okay, what's this? This is the Roman Empire. Remember? What's the center of the Roman Empire? The Mediterranean. Okay? Our lake. And so you draw a line here. This is Latin. This is Greek. Okay? Latin and Greek halves of the Roman Empire. When the Roman Empire collapsed, 410, 476 in the west, 1453 in the east, this is what ended up happening. It broke 3 ways. Okay? So you have Roman Catholic, Greek Orthodox, and then Islam in the south. Okay, so here this shows the division of the Roman Empire before the rise of Islam. I'm going to have to shut this off somehow. I did this lecture for school during COVID.
The volume.
Can you just turn the volume off?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have
The
the,
button on the side?
all right, well, you can't hear it anyway, right? It annoys me. All right, so okay, so keep the map of Europe in mind. It breaks three ways. Remember, the Roman Empire collapsed, it breaks three ways. Okay, who's this? This is 6 words. Charlemagne without Muhammad would be inconceivable. So this is a French author, a very famous book written between World War I and World War II. All right, 1054, the Great Schism, right? Christianity splits into Greek and Latin halves. Right? This is the rise of Islam. It's an unbelievable thing. So it's 1/3 of the Roman Empire plus, right? And it's after the death of Muhammad. So within 100 years, they take over all this space. And you know what? This would be a good place to stop. So, do we have any? This is part 1. We'll do part 2 next week. We're getting to the good stuff here.
Yeah.
Sorry.